I'd like to call to order the January 2023 member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for Knox County. If the clerk would call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Present. That didn't work.
Are you having problems too?
Yeah,
Mine's not wanting to work.
mine's not working either. It's just blinking.
Turn it on in the back. If you click, Mr. Huff, if you click your left button right there, see.
Maybe
Okay, there we go. Okay. Mr. Brown, go ahead and, oh,
Still
Mr. Repass,
He's not here.
Mr. Wood,
Present.
Mr. Levingood,
Present.
Mr. Anderson,
Present.
Mr. Elliott,
Here.
Miss Garrett,
Present.
Miss Longmire,
Present.
Mr. Huff.
Here. We have 8 members out of 9. I declare there is a quorum. Ms. Longmire, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Members of the Board of Zoning Appeals are volunteers from each commission district who do not receive compensation for their work on the board or the training they attend. As a quasi-judicial body, we avoid ex parte communication and conduct our business in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. I'm Paul Huff, the chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals. To my right is Mr. Brown, co-chairman, and to his right is Mr. Myers Morton, the law director for the Board of Zoning Appeals. We have additional personnel available or in attendance. If you could identify yourselves.
Yes, today we have Steve Elliott, Kelly Vaughn, Kim Jarnigan, Tammy Harvey, and Bart Roundtree.
Thank you. Our voting procedures require a simple majority of the board members present. Today there are 8 members present, so a majority of 5 will be required to approve any, approve or disapprove any motion. Now for the minutes of last month's meeting, and I think there might be a change.
Where it reads Paul Huff, chairwoman, should read Paul Huff, chairman.
Thank you. Hearing procedure, the Knox County Board of Zoning Appeals is authorized. I'm sorry, we need to vote on the minutes. I need a motion.
I move that we correct the minutes to read Paul Huff, chairman.
Second?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those approved, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Knox County Board of Zoning Appeals is authorized to grant variances and to hear other matters by the Tennessee Code and zoning and Knox County Zoning Ordinance, specifically 6.60 Board of Zoning Appeals. These laws prescribe strict parameters, the meeting of which is required to grant a variance. The burden of proof that an application meets these parameters rests on the applicant. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Quoting from Knox County Code of Ordinances 6.60.04 variances, quote, "The purpose of the variance is to modify the strict application of the specific requirements of this ordinance in the case of exceptionally irregular, narrow, shallow, or steep lots or other exceptional physical conditions whereby such strict application would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship which would deprive an owner of the reasonable use of their land. The variance shall be used only where necessary to overcome some obstacle which is preventing an owner from using their property as the zoning ordinance intended." For each matter, the clerk will read the request into the record. The chair will then ask if the applicant is present. The chair will then ask if there is opposition or other speakers who wish to present. You do not have to come forward at that time. Once we determine the speakers for the item, we will call on governmental agencies such as Knox County Codes, Planning, or Engineering to make statements regarding the facts pertinent to the property and background of the request. Board members may ask questions of the governmental agencies once they have made their statements. The chair will then call on the applicant to come forward, state their name and address for the record, and to present their evidence and reasoning supporting the granting of a variance. If there is no opposition, the applicant has 10 minutes to present their case. If there is opposition, the applicant and opposition each have 15 minutes. After the application's presentation, the board members may ask questions of the applicant. The chair will then call for opposition to or other parties who have up to 15 minutes to speak. This 15 minutes applies to all parties, so if there are multiple parties that wish to speak, please determine how you are going to divide your time beforehand. After the opponents present their opposition, the board members may ask questions of the opponents. Finally, there will be a discussion of the case by the board, during which time the board members may ask further questions of parties that have already testified. The board will then make any determinations it feels necessary. Our bylaws allow an applicant at the initial hearing on the matter to request a deferral of 30 or 60 days without prejudice. In the event of a deferral of an application or a failure to appear, any opponents may be heard on the record at a meeting where the application they oppose appears on the agenda. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak other than the governmental agencies here? All those wishing to speak at this meeting, please stand and be sworn in by the law director.
Do each of you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Are there any agenda changes or corrections?
Yes. Item 5A, upon further review, we've figured out with a revised site plan that the applicant actually needs a waiver of the front yard setback from 40 feet to 26 feet. And that would be the only variance required with the updated site plan.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with,
We'll have to swear them in. We just had too many people just come in.
I'm sorry, are you folks here to testify on an issue? Okay, we need to swear you in.
Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, thank you.
And, I'm sorry.
Do we need to make a motion to make that change, or when we get to that?
I think the law director needs to, would,
We can vote on that now.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the change to the agenda?
In reference to 5A, I'd like to move to correct the waiver. The waiver, this is number 2 on that list, the waiver of front yard setback from 40 feet to 26 feet.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say no. Motion carries. Now we'll start with the reading of the item 4A.
4A is a request of Lee Ellis for waiver of front yard setback from 35 feet to 30 feet. The property is located at 8011 Stone Hollow Drive, CLT map 073, Group BA, parcel 040. Property is zoned RA in the 8th Commission District.
Is the applicant present?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant could not attend today. He was on vacation. This application probably should have came from the Knox County Codes Office. We in error approved the site plan, and you can see on the site plan, we stamped it approved. We stamped approved a 30-foot front yard setback when the actual setback should have been 35 feet. And the applicant, when he built his house, he built it to the site plan. It is in harmony and character with the other houses along the street. We were going to just approve this administratively in our office, but we were afraid in the future, we have to do zoning letters on these houses sometimes, and if there's not a variance, future staff may not be able to provide a zoning letter for this house and say that it doesn't meet the required setback. So the Knox County Codes Office wishes to correct this and correct our mistake by requesting a variance for this applicant. I think the board should probably vote to hear this case with the applicant not being here and letting Knox County Codes represent him. If you wish to do that, then we could talk further about the variance. If not, we would need to defer till next month.
Very well. I understand from what you said, then we're being asked to approve this under 6.60.03A. The board shall have the power to hear and decide appeals where it's alleged there's an error in any order, requirement, or decision or determination made by an administrative official. Is there any opposition to this application? No. Any questions for the administrative officials?
And I would like to add for the record, you know, my staff, we got 3 guys up there reviewing these plans, and they did 5,200 permits last year. So if this is the only mistake we made in those 5,200 permits, they have done an outstanding job. So we apologize for the mistake, but, you know, we were super busy last year, and mistakes do happen.
I fully understand. And I would say that looking at the map of this area, the 30-foot setback appears to be consistent with the other houses in that area. So this house is being treated equally like all the other houses on that street, on that side of the street. So the chair will entertain a motion in this point. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to go ahead and make that motion. I'd like to motion that we go ahead and hear the case with the Codes Department being the applicant in the absence of the homeowner and the current applicant.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. The motion passes. Application granted. Now-
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
with that in mind, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the waiver of the front yard setback from 35 feet to 30 feet based on an error, an understandable error of Knox County staff.
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any, all those in favor, please say aye to. Oh, sorry.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
He was ready on that one.
For B.
4B is a request of Rob Dew for waiver of lot intensity from 1 acre to 0.86 acres. The property is located at 2526 Woodland Reserve Lane, CLT map 117, group FB, parcel 036. Property is zoned AG in the 4th Commission District.
This is the weirdest lot I've ever seen.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition? Are there any, any statements from Knox County Codes?
We have none until after the applicant presents, and if the board has any questions, we're here to answer.
Okay, sir, as the applicant, could you please state your name and address for the record?
I'm Richard LeMay, 10816 Kingston Pike, Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm Mr. Dew's surveyor and engineer on the project. I'll be glad to answer any questions or I'm having trouble hearing, so I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do. So if I do something wrong, tell me, but I'll be glad to answer questions or explain to you what we want, unless you already know that.
I need, I guess, some guidance from Law Director. Since this is technically not the applicant, it's not on the application, we need some kind of a letter, assurance, whatever, from the applicant that this person has authority to represent him in this case?
Say that again, sir? The applicant is also here.
Okay, Mr. Dew, you're here, okay, very well, all right. That resolves that issue. Okay, if you could tell us why you feel like this variance is required?
Be happy to. Mr. Dew owned 2 lots side by side in the subdivision in question. He built a house on one of the lots, and when he went to build on the second lot, there is a sinkhole that did not show up on the recorded plat that affects the building area on the adjacent lot. So prior to selling the lot he built the house on, he had an agreement with the buyer of that house that we could do the process we're asking you to let us do, which is to move the property line toward the first house he built and away from the sinkhole so that he has more of an area to build the house in. He's talked to the homeowners of the subdivision. The homeowners president has no problem with this request.
This potential sinkhole, has it been investigated by a geologist and verified?
No, we chose to ask the variance. It doesn't show up on the recorded plat. It shows up on KGIS, which kicks in their requirement to put a buffer around it to build a house on.
I'm
And it
sorry,
really
are you
it
saying
really-
it's designated as a sinkhole on KGIS? or
Yes, it's
just a
shown as a
depression?
closed depression, has a closed contour around the top of it.
So it's still a potential sinkhole, but we don't know that it actually is a sinkhole.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
So it's a potential sinkhole, but not a verified actual sinkhole?
The way they ask for these variances and setbacks, it just has to be a closed depression. And then you have to do the study to prove that it is not a sinkhole. They don't do the study to prove that it is. So our option is to not do that study because it's just easier and will make a better looking lot if we do what we're asking for, is to move the lot line.
Ms. Garrett?
Sorry. The other property,
Thank you.
the one that you just sold and you are not the current owner of the other property,
Right, both
the
lots.
adjacent property?
Both lots belong to Mr. Dew, and he built the house that's on the adjacent property that we're asking for the variance for. There,
Okay.
no one is objecting to it. The buyer of the house that he built had agreed before he bought the house to let this happen, so there's not an issue.
The buyer of the house on the lot that you have already built on.
Right.
Is the current owner of the property, correct?
Correct, and that's where we're moving the lot, is toward that house that he built. on
Do you
that
have
lot.
any statements from them that they are okay with?
You still on the line?
No, it is in the contract that.
You gotta come up.
And you need to come up to the mic. And you need to be
Yeah, you need to be
sworn
sworn in, please.
Will you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So, yes, ma'am, we have an agreement underneath that. And I'm doing some current work on that house after we had sold it to them.
My question would be to Mr. Moyers is, would we need evidence or show that contract or that?
Are you gonna get it, you plan on getting a deed from the people for that when you move the lot line back? Is that the plan?
A deed from the people?
The people that own the house?
Yes.
Do you have
Yes.
anything,
It's in the contract and a written agreement.
do you have a
upon
copy of
them
that,
showing-
please?
I'm
Do you
sorry?
have a copy of that for this board?
I don't, but I can certainly get that to you.
Just an administrative issue. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Robert Dew, 8705 Hopemont Way, Knoxville, 37923.
Okay, I would like to investigate this sinkhole, potential sinkhole a bit more. You say you can't build a house with that sinkhole where it is if the lot line's not moved?
That's correct. With the 50-foot easement to that depression or sinkhole.
You do realize that you can build in that 50-foot buffer, right?
You can build a structure on that?
You can build on it if you want to get an engineering study done, a geotechnical study done, along with soil testing to show that the structure will be sound in that area.
So the answer is yes, you can build in the buffer.
You can build in it, but it's a lot of extra cost for a single-family residence when there's another solution.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lovingood.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is my district, and I've been over the neighborhood. Mr. Dew, so do you own Lot 10 currently, and you own Lot 9?
I originally owned Lot 10, and I sold it probably, they closed on it probably 3 weeks ago.
So
now I own Lot 9
so
now.
you own, do you own Lot 8, though?
I do not own Lot 8.
Okay, so you said you own the adjoining lot, right?
I did, yes.
Okay, so you did. Okay.
Right.
I just wanted that clarification.
And we missed, the reason point we're here today is we missed the cutoff for last month or month before. So this was written in the contract upon them buying this property, Lot 10.
Ms. Long?
You understand that unless we see some proof that the other party is allowing you to take that, there's nothing we can do.
Okay.
So we really need to see some proof that the other party is willing to let you use that.
Yes.
And in that case, probably the best course of action is to postpone it for 30 days until we can get a copy of the material that shows that, yes, those other people are willing to give up that piece of property. Otherwise, we can go anywhere and move anybody's property line.
That's fine.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to postpone for 30 days in order to get information about the other party being willing to donate property.
Second.
I'd like to amend that motion to include submitting evidence to this board that that actually is a sinkhole, do the studies, do the homework, so that it's no longer a potential sinkhole, that it actually is a sinkhole. Because we're being asked to make a variance because of something that may or may not actually exist.
If it's on KGIS, though, it is an acknowledged sinkhole. Is that not true, Codes?
What the definition says in the stormwater ordinance is, sinkhole means a depression characterized by closed contours on a topographic map. A sinkhole throat or opening to the subsurface may not be visible. Field verification may be required in areas where the depth of the depression is below the tolerance of currently available topographic mapping. The extent of the area considered to be a sinkhole is, at minimum, the limits determined by the sinkhole floodplain elevation, assuming plug conditions. So my staff has interpreted that to say any closed depression that shows up on KGIS is a sinkhole until proved otherwise. Mr. Huff, the chairman, brought up a point earlier. We do look at areas where a roadway has been built. You know, there's been a pipe put in and it may create a closed contour. I don't think, I've looked at it here, I don't think that's the case here. I think that closed depression meets that definition of what a sinkhole is. So our staff, what we would say is it is a sinkhole and they need to provide verification that it's not a sinkhole. And that, right or wrong, that's the way we've interpreted it through the years.
That's pretty much what I just said, only with different words.
Let me, if I could comment when you're done. The only reason we are here is because we submitted a subdivision plat to the Planning Commission. They sent the two-lot plat back and says there's a sinkhole on this site and you have to show it. And we got the KGIS map, and then we did the field work to determine where the top of the sinkhole was. So we put it on there at their request. And they also required that we put the 50-foot buffer on the sinkhole. They're the ones that made the determination that it is a sinkhole.
And I'll say this before we go on to the vote. The way I see it, you have two options. You can either prove that it's not a sinkhole, or you can do the engineering required to build the building within the buffer. Those are really what you...
Mr. Huff, that's rather like saying you're guilty unless you prove you're not guilty. I would ask that that's fine, if you can put that, you want to do that. I don't want it added to the postponement. If you would like to do a separate one, that would be fine. Is that okay?
Then we'll vote on postponing this 30 days to get the information regarding ownership. It's been made and seconded. I will withdraw my amendment, and we can vote on the postponement. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Vote carries. Ready for, just a minute.
Next month.
Yes, go ahead.
5A is a request of Brian Yarborough for waiver of front yard setback from 40 feet to 26 feet. The property is located at 6806 Flatwood Lane, CLT map 048, parcel 01301. Property is zoned AG in the 7th Commission District.
Is the applicant present?
I'm Sean Smith with Dream House Construction. I'm representing Mr. Yarborough as he's out of the country on vacation.
Very
And
well.
you should have a letter on file.
We do have a letter on
Yeah.
file in our,
Any statements from Knox County Codes?
Well, I think this gentleman came in after we amended the application, so I think we should just clarify that we did amend your application to, the variance you need now is a waiver of the front yard setback from 40 feet to 26 feet. The other variances you don't need with the new site plan that was submitted.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there
we
any
need a
opposition?
motion for that change.
We already did that.
We did.
Yeah.
Bill,
Is there any opposition to this application? Any questions of the applicant or the codes folks? I would just make one note. I think I made it earlier that this is as a result of 6.60.03A error on an administrative error. So is there a motion to approve this? Sherry?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Ms. Garrett?
I will make a motion to approve the front yard setback from 40 feet to 26 feet due to the new site plan.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Any additional business to come before the board?
Just, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
We did provide the meeting dates for the year 2024.
Yes, you did.
We would like for you guys to vote on those and approve those. And then we would note that next month's meeting is in the small assembly room. I didn't make it to October, I only looked at February. I operate on 30 days.
Ms. Longmire, is this what you were going to ask about?
Now, second. Well, Miss,
Any discussion? I didn't think so. All those approve, all those in favor, please say aye.
aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Any other motion, any other business come before the board?
Say no. Just for the sake of
I declare the meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. It's good to see you. I'll see you next week.
Yes.
ADA.